Ryan, how you doing? Back for a second video this afternoon. Why not? We need to play some catch up. And there's also a lot of things going on aside from ESL as well. Now, everyone would have still heard, I'm sure, of the Champions League having a lot of changes, not going on now, but that are going to be approved and have now been signed off on, ready for the 2024 campaign. It was a good few years away, but we don't want to allow this to sneak up on us if there's things that we disagree with. Hey, we've just gone through one of the biggest fights to make sure that some major changes to the way that we like football didn't happen. So, if we don't like things with this, we better make sure that we're all fully still aware of it. And I want to play a small part of that, or a tiny part of that, I'm sure, with the size of my channel. Anyway, I'm going to switch over to the screen. We're going to read through it, and I'm going to give my thoughts on it. It'd be nice to, as I say, make sure that we're still focusing on everything going on. Let's not allow UEFA, the maybe not so rosy and clean corporation that they are, get away with sneaking something through when the ESL couldn't. Let's have a quick look together. So this is it. These are the key points, and having read through all of the changes, they really are the key points. I can confirm that at the very least. But it's just summarised in a very easy format. So one of the first differences would be that we'll have 36 teams instead of 32. Okay, that's fair enough. New spots for elite clubs that fail to qualify. That sounds quite familiar. We'll have to have a chat about that. One league instead of groups. Okay, fair enough. The best 8 are to reach the knockouts. Okay. Other teams to qualify through new round of playoffs. Okay, so I'm assuming that's the other 2. And every club is guaranteed 10 games, increasing the revenue, which makes sense. So what do we think? Well, okay, let's start with the first one because it's easy. 36 teams instead of 32. I'm not really going to argue with that. Okay, for some people, I've heard it's about diluting it. If it's allowing better spots, you know, or more of a distribution of allocations across Europe, I'm not going to argue with that. Why not give teams, you know, the opportunity to dream and to potentially win big? We can't argue with that. And if it allows more money to be put into the competition, who's moaning? Come on. Now the second piece about the new spots for elite clubs that fail to qualify. So a bit more detail on this is that there will be, out of the 4 new spots, 2 of them will relate to this. The idea being that, from what I understand, because we're in early stages of course, that there will be 2 spots for the highest rated non-qualifying team. So say for example Real Madrid somehow finished 5th, they could still take one of these spots because they've won, what, 13 Champions Leagues? Now correct me if I'm wrong, but we hated the ESL because it wasn't about reputation, it was just about qualifying. So I think it's probably easy to say, although it's not 15 teams out of a 20 team league, it's only 2. Seems a little bit hypocritical, to be honest. I'm not. That rubs me the wrong way. I don't see the point. If you fail to qualify that season, the next season, shock, you don't get a play in Europe. We'll have to see how that plays out. Potentially, again, these things could, although they've been signed off by UEFA, they haven't been brought into fruition yet. Things could change. One league instead of groups. Now, I'm interested. I'm intrigued by this. So every team will, as it says, will play at least 10 games. So it looks like every single person will play each other once, I believe. I can't quite make out how it's one league instead of groups if you're guaranteed only 10 games, but I'm sure that will get clarified. I haven't been able to find some full clarification on whether that's actually meant to be like 2 leagues. I'm not 100% sure. I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see how that would work instead of it being the group stage. Of course, clearly it's able to increase the amount of games being played during the group stages. So prior to you getting knocked out, if that means you get to play in a couple bigger stadiums, especially for these smaller teams, maybe the Eastern European teams and the teams outside of the top 5 European leagues that don't normally get to make it past the Champions League group stages. Yeah, that's going to be a good thing for your clubs. For the bigger clubs, well, it's kind of like the group stage. I think, if you get to a point where you're already qualified, well, then you're going to just probably rotate your squad and play kids and still be qualified. So I don't think it's going to affect the big clubs too much. We'll just have to wait and see. If anything, it will give them an opportunity that if they don't quite get off to the best start, they can pick it back up. Other teams qualify for the new round of playoffs. Makes perfect sense. Makes complete and utter perfect sense. If you're going to bring in 4 teams, why not offer it out in different ways? Okay, yeah, so it looks like they're just going to tweak the way that they have the qualifiers prior to the group stage. For some teams, like Scotland, will go through, I think, the second to last and last round of the qualifiers at the minute. So for these other 2 extra teams, they'll be in that sort of format as well. And again, guaranteeing clubs 10 games, increasing the revenue split. It's great. Now, one point that has been raised is, of course, that by UEFA now guaranteeing these teams extra money, and it sounds like the prize pool for winning and second and third and such has also taken quite a big increase. It does prove that there's been a lot of money there that UEFA have clearly been holding back, something that obviously these big clubs who wanted to move on was their biggest reason for wanting to move on. I really hate the idea. Still, it doesn't matter if it's the ESL or not. I really still hate the idea that anyone is going to be in the Champions League just on merit. Realistically, that could suddenly mean that Man United start qualifying because of their historical record in the Champions League. But we can all agree that since Ferguson, there's only been a couple years with a handful of years where they have qualified, and probably a couple of years where they've been up to scratch to qualify. Really, a team that we think can compete. If that. Do they deserve to take a random free spot? I don't think it needs much tweaking. I think, again, keep those 4 teams, definitely. But make all 4 of those teams opportunities for other clubs to get involved. Not being funny, but let's take Atlanta in the Serie A, for example. Their first year in the Champions League and their first year back in the Serie A, they were hell-to-leather football. All-out goddamn attack. We will probably concede 60 goals a season, but we'll score 70 or 80 and we'll have good fun. They took the Serie A by storm to get into the Champions League, and then when they played the Champions League for their first season, they did really goddamn well. And if anything, I personally still think that when they played PSG under the new COVID rules and it wasn't going to be to finish off that season, it wasn't going to be 2 legs, I think they go and take that second leg and they win that game. It was only because of late on goals that PSG got past them. Now, for a team like Atlanta, why can't there be 4 other teams that could be given those based on qualification instead of history in the Champions League that then get to go and start their own history? In this year's Europa League alone, and right, it's the Europa League, not Champions League, I get it, leave it alone, right? The Europa League is still, it's up there, alright? In the Europa League alone this season, look at Granada. A not small, but more recently smaller Spanish side who've been able to get themselves up into those qualification positions, and they've gone deep into the competition, only being stopped just about by Man United. Very comfortably in the end, but they got through some good teams, and again, they got through the group stages after the qualifiers, and then they've pulled themselves all the way through to a quarter-final. That's huge. That's huge for a club like that. And these are the clubs with that extra revenue can really not drip-feed through from the big clubs to the smaller clubs. Go straight to them, straight to the medium clubs. And I think if we had, it's better. It's definitely got some new interesting concepts in there, some things that can be trialled with the whole new league piece. The one bit that I am personally really against is any elitist nonsense. We're going to put you in because, oh, you did well in the past, didn't you? You won a few of our pretty little trophies, so come on. We know you had a terrible season, but you get punished enough for that anyway. Come on with us. Really? Hopefully, this will get talked about enough and shouted from the rooftops enough. And hopefully, UEFA will listen after they just told these greedy people to listen to us. And hopefully, they will tweak it. Now, maybe, other people will have more issues than just that. Maybe all the other things I've mentioned, people are like, no, it's terrible. What are you talking about? God, how can you not like this? Let me know. Let's talk about it. But for me, you turn those 2 elite teams back into potential for 2 other teams to go on a fairy tale journey. Oh, I'm all ears. I am all ears. And I'm sure millions and millions of other people will be as well. But But hey, let's make sure it's still talked about, because if people have more issues than I do with it, it's only going to happen if we don't say something. I hope you liked the video. It's probably a nice, short, sweet one. Please do drop it a like. Please do hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more to come, and I look forward to it. And drop me a comment down below if you've made it this far as well. Just simple, UCL is the best. ECL, get out. Thank you again for all your time. Peace out.